According to the reporting, Brandon Aiyuk has given up the fight. Clear the path. I don't want my money back for next year or the money that I haven't earned yet for next year. I just want out. But have the 49ers given up the fight? I don't think they will see him play another game for them. I don't think my 1.5-week-old son will ever see Brandon Aiyuk play in the red and gold. But think about Jimmy Garoppolo. That's the first place my mind goes. When everybody said, cut him, get rid of him, it's over, be done with it. This is a spectacle. He's back here throwing behind the bleed. They kept him and tried to trade him and kept him and kept him and kept him and kept him. What about this is too much of a distraction? They kept him. And then it turned out they needed him, which I don't think it's going to get there with Brandon Aiyuk. Although you do imagine a world where the Niners somehow Jennings is gone. They didn't get a receiver in the offseason. They're holding Brandon Aiyuk so they can cut him post June 1 for just $8 million, which everybody says is a win. Although I don't think they're totally popping bottles at 49ers HQ, even though financially it's a win, but it's not, you're losing a good player potentially, or you're losing a good player here. Not potentially, but they held Jimmy and held Jimmy and held Jimmy because they wanted something for him. And I do wonder right now, the Rossini, Silver report is they could cut him. It's probably over. He'll go play for somebody else. And it's a win that you're not paying him $26 million next year, which is true. But are they really going to give up that easy? Or are they going to hold on a little bit, let this thing play out a little bit? I'd be surprised if we see a report like Monday from Schefter, Monday Night Football. So you could get like a Schefter Monday something. The Niners just going to cut him. It'll all be over. Clean break. Maybe. That's not historically the way this stuff has gone, though. They try to squeeze an ounce, as you should try to squeeze a pick out. Now, is there a pick to be squeezed, and are you willing to pay for it? How much dead cap are you willing to take on to do a deal for a pick? And is the pick good enough to take on a bigger dead cap hit and do a trade before June 1? I don't think so. Like, if you were going to get a top 10 pick for him, then maybe you'd take more dead money on in order to do it. But that's probably not going to happen here. But it doesn't mean they don't try something. Like, you want to go to a particular place. Remember, Ayuk tried to dictate terms from a trade. They had a trade done with Cleveland, the trade done with New England. He didn't want to go to either place. So, I think part of him giving up this fight is that he doesn't want to be dictated. He's been in this boat. Like, you're going to trade me, or only places you want to trade me to, but not where I want to go. I'll give up this fight, but I'm going to get to pick. So, I think that's his attitude, which, we talked about this in basketball for years with Kevin Durant. There is a point. Now, some people want to make the most amount of money they can make every single time. But there is a point where you've made so much money that your freedom of choice is worth giving up a little bit of cash. And that's the place that Brandon Aiyuk has arrived. And, receivers, with the exception of a couple at the very top, tend to be like airport food. Everything's overpriced. So the question is, are you going to pay $28 for a salad that's worth $15, or are you going to pay $18 for a salad that's worth $6? At the end of the day, Aiyuk was overpriced, but he still was a really good player before he got hurt. And sometimes you can fix relationships and sometimes you can't. And it takes everybody. And it felt like he didn't really want to totally fix it. I don't know that everybody was ever going to totally forgive him for the way things played out. And if you're going to have any resistance, it takes total buy-in from everybody to bury a hatchet. Like Juwan Jennings, who we talked about this on Thursday. I said, maybe Aiyuk gets traded and Jennings comes back next year. Do you remember that from a few days ago? People said I called it crazy idea. Now, Jennings might still be too expensive to bring back in the offseason. Like, it still may not totally pencil. But I do believe in Jennings and the 49ers' ability to bury the hatchet with one another. The Aiyuk one, bad after the Super Bowl, never really got better, stayed together for the money, still tried to trade him. It was just too much from everybody, too much betrayal. The Niners play the Panthers on Monday night, and I do think that there's a world, and I said this after the draft, that I thought one of the other players, and Kyle Shanahan, the story after the draft, telling his wife, telling his family, we're going to get our guy, Michael Williams, at number 11, which they did. They got that guy. I do think there's a world, and I said this after the draft, where they were trying to get or were considering moving up or trying to find a spot, figuring out, can we get Tetairoa McMillan? I saw a tweet in the haze. I honestly was it earlier this week where Kyle was asked about, how much work did you how much did you really like Tetairoa McMillan draft? He said a lot. Like I said that after you go back, check the tape. I said after the draft, like this was not just some made up thing that the 49ers liked Tetairoa McMillan. The 49ers really liked Tetairoa McMillan. And there weren't a lot of spots to go get him. They might have had to go to 8 with Carolina to get him, and Carolina liked him. So that deal obviously didn't happen, and whatever. But it's different than some of the years past. You're like, oh, if only the Niners had liked Josh Allen, or if only the Niners had liked, once upon a time, this conversation happened. Some of you are old enough to remember Deshaun Watson. But they didn't really do the work on him. They didn't really. This guy they liked. And Kyle confirmed it this week, and I said it right after the draft. So they've been trying to replace, and then they draft Ricky. Like they have been planning to replace Brandon Aiyuk basically since after the deal was done, is what it feels like. And um, and it's felt that like it's been so public, but they haven't really done it yet. Ricky Pearsall at his best at the beginning of this year was one of the best receivers in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. But he has to prove that he can stay healthy for a full year. Juwan Jennings is not replacing Brandon Aiyuk. Christian McCaffrey plays a different position. George Kittle plays a different position. Jordan Watkins, shrug. Maybe. I don't know. But they've been trying to replace him while he's here. They haven't replaced him yet. And I think Ricky could absolutely do it if he's healthy. He'll check every box if he's healthy. So, this is ongoing. And if you're the 49ers, or if we're us as we are, you check their history, it would feel a little out of character. Somebody tell me if I'm missing examples of just let them go. Okay, bygones are bygones. Let's shake hands and move on. But, something tells me communications are not exactly flowing right now between the two. And rightfully, the 49ers history has been, if there is an ounce of value to squeeze out of this transaction, we're going to try and squeeze it out of this transaction. We're not just going to sit back and be satisfied that we're saving a bunch of money. But the reason I say that not everybody is celebrating, and I mean, I do think you have to, because I do think you have to, just because it feels like it never is going to get back to where it once was, right? If you say, well, if he's healthy, XYZ, it just feels like he doesn't want to do it here. And you can't force somebody to fit back in if they don't want to. And, the relationship, maybe it hangs over the whole organization in a way that prevents them from being exactly who they want to be. But he's still a good player. Overpriced? Yes. Injured? Yes. I still think he's a good player. The irony of the whole thing is he should have taken the New England deal. Now, he might say, no, I shouldn't have. I'm going to walk away with like $40 million, and I'm going to get to pick my place, and maybe it'll be warm. Okay. Maybe it will be. Maybe it's worth it all the suffering to get to choose your destination. I do respect that, actually. Like, I'm going to give up money just so I can be in control of where I go and what I do. Which, once you've made a bunch of money, you can do. I think this about the NBA for sure, really any sport, but the NBA is unique. Baseball too, because of guaranteed contracts. But when you're middle class, which is what most of your sport is, the middle class and then the lower class, not the Steph Currys and the Patrick Mahomeses. When they make so much money that they can just act like the superstars because I'm making $50 million a year and I'm who's the guy I haven't watched any Kings basketball this year. I used to watch a lot of Kings basketball. Who's the guy they got? Zach LaVine. I don't know. Maybe he's been good. He might be a great. I'm not. I hear he's a great. I know I have a buddy who belongs to the same golf club. I hear he's a good guy. But when you're making $50 million a year, if your foot kind of hurts, and Zach LaVine didn't. I don't know that his foot hurts or that anything has happened with him. I'm just saying, like, when you make generational money, it doesn't matter if you're middle of the pack in terms of NBA earners. $50 million in the real world is $50 million, but it's actually like $275 million based on the years of your guaranteed contract. You can make decisions for yourself that don't prioritize maximizing your dollar value. So the fact that Aiyuk is doing it and going, you know what? Fine. I'm not going to squeeze. I'm not going to be miserable. We could debate whether he should be or shouldn't be, but I'm not going to be miserable. This thing started right after the Super Bowl, remember? It's crazy. But I'm not going to be miserable. And I'm going to give up money. Again, it's kind of easy because you and I know even an injured Brandon Aiyuk is going to go make generational money. Does he go? The other thing that's kind of interesting is it would be a risk. He would also maybe benefit from coming back to play this year. And they on the field would benefit from him coming back to play this year. This thing's, anyone who had their antenna up that like this thing with Aiyuk is kind of weird. Why is there no news about, oh, it's the knee injury is very severe, and it is. And if you're the Niners, it's in your best interest, even if you love him and he's coming back fully healthy to your team, to slow play it, to make sure that he's young, there's more time left on the contract. You need him fully back to himself. You're not going to rush him back this year. Now, all that stuff I just said, the preamble to that is not the case, right? And if you're him, you want to make sure that you're fully healthy in 2026 because maybe you're planning on a 1-year deal. If you really want to control your future, prove that you're worth a big contract and because I mean, what is he, 27? I mean, when they signed him, he was like the second or third youngest member of the offense. But I could see it's, just thinking about it, kind of crazy. So March 17th, 98, he'll turn 28. If you're him, do you sign a 1-year contract? Play out a 1-year deal as a 28-year-old and then try to sign a big contract, prove that you're healthy inside a big one at 29? I don't know. Maybe we'll see what he does. But there is a world where it benefits him to come back and play this year and show other teams like, no, I'm ready to roll. But it doesn't. He could actually help them and help himself, but it doesn't quite feel like that's happening. And George Kittle said as much. I think Kawakami write this. Kittle said as much. Like, we've got everybody. We're healthy right now. Like, this is the squad. Anyway, with Monday Night Football coming up and the Niners playing on it, I would expect more news on this a Sunday morning. But a Monday, I would pay attention, like Monday pregame, what Schefter's saying about this, because there will be more. And I think the overall take I have, the first report makes it seem kind of cut and dry. I know that's just, oh, okay, they're going to cut him and everyone will go their separate ways and that'll be that. It's like, that could be where it ends up. That's probably the most likely conclusion, but there will be blood between now. Like it's not going to be quite that simple. That's my prediction.